So my parents have a small farm just up the road in Fife, and one of the things that we have on the farm are sheep. And it is lambing time up on the farm. This last week my dad has started lambing in earnest. So there's tiny little sheep running around all over the place now. My dad also, he used to teach at the local college, and when students would come up and start working with these sheep, one of the common phrases he would hear out of his students' mouth was, "Stupid things," or "stupid sheep." My dad's thoughts of sheep were slightly different. He didn't think of them as stupid, he just thought of them as following their nature. Often people are compared to sheep. How often in recent months have we heard people being referred to as sheeple? You know, the Bible also compares people to sheep. In the Psalms, you will hear this quite a lot. David, who wrote many of the Psalms, was a shepherd himself, a shepherd boy before he became king. And in Psalm 100, he says, "Know that the Lord, He is God. It is He who made us, and we are His. We are His people, and the sheep of His pasture." We are God's creation, God's by default. That's our original position. We are sheep of His pasture. That is the best position that we could be in. Sheep of His pasture. In Psalm 78, it tells us there, "Then He led out His people like sheep and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. He led them in safety so that they were not afraid, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies." He was a guide to us. Now, the type of shepherding that they had in Israel is different from the type of shepherding that my dad would engage in. Over here in Scotland, we use dogs and fear to drive the sheep to where we want them and then have them in fields that are penned off so they can't wander away. But in the Middle East, they have a different system. They have a shepherd that lives with the sheep all year round. He leads them to the pasture and then leads them to a safe place. He was there to protect them from the wild animals, whereas we've killed off everything that would do real damage to sheep. They still have dangerous animals that would destroy the sheep. And so the shepherd was there to protect them as a guide and as a protector. Psalm 119 says, "I have gone astray like a lost sheep. Seek your servant, for I do not forget your commandments." Here we see a problem that is very common among sheep. Their nature is to go astray, to wander off, to go where there is not protection. And notice that the psalmist here, he says, "I have gone astray." Not "I have been led astray," not "I have been taken somewhere else out against my will." It was an option that they chose. He chose, he went astray like a lost sheep. Here's a problem for the sheep being astray. In Psalm 44, it says, "Yet for your sake we are killed all the day long. We are regarded as sheep to be slaughtered." Notice how weak the sheep is here. It's defenseless. It's like a sheep to be slaughtered. It has no defense. Isaiah 53, and this is the key verse in my mind today. Isaiah 53 says, "All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all." A couple of things I want you to notice from this verse. It says, "All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way." So in the Psalm 119, the psalmist says, "I have gone astray." But here in Isaiah 53, it says, "All we like sheep," everyone. Okay, so it's not just this one individual who's gone astray, it's everyone has gone astray. Notice how it says he's turned everyone to his own way. And is that not something that we see around us in the world today? Everybody's following their own way. It is my way or the highway. It is my truth. It is my reality. Not what is truth or what is real. Now, I also want to just pose a couple of questions. Question, who is him? It says, and the Lord laid on him the iniquity of us all. So we want to find out who this him is. We also want to find out what is iniquity. And I'll answer the second question first. What is iniquity? Well, as you may be aware, the Bible was not written in English. It was written in Hebrew and Greek and a small amount of Aramaic. And this word iniquity has a couple of different meanings. They're all very similar. It can mean faults. It can mean mischief. And it can mean sin. Faults, that the things that are just wrong with us, our faults, our failings. Mischief, the little niggly things that we do that are not right. And sin, the big things that we do that are not right. I want you to turn, if you've got a Bible, to Matthew 18. And in verse 12 there it says, what do you think? If a man has 100 sheep and one of them has gone astray, does he not leave the 99 on the mountain and go in search of the one that went astray? Now this is Jesus that is talking, and he's pulling out how important the one is. We as individuals are important in God's sight. Not just groups of people, not just countries, but we as individuals. God cares for us as individuals. Matthew 9 says, when Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion for them when they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Notice that Jesus has compassion, care for the harassed and the helpless. He wants to guide us and protect us. He wants to give reassurance, to comfort and to heal. John 10 says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. And this is answering our previous question. Who is this him? The him in Isaiah 53 is Jesus. He is the good shepherd. And you'll notice that it says he lays down his life for the sheep. And that takes our mind back to Calvary, where Jesus died on the cross to take the punishment for our sin. The Lord has laid on him the failings, the faults, the mischief, the sin, the iniquity of us all. A little later in John 10, it says, I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock and one shepherd. Notice here, he says, I know my own. That means not everyone are his own. But it then says, I have other sheep that are not of this fold, and that fold would be the Jewish people. But he has other sheep beyond just the Jewish people. So the message is not just for the Jews, it's for everyone. So it's not everyone, but it's for anyone. It's people from any tribe or nation. Earlier in that same chapter, it talks about people following Jesus. And this is a stark difference. You'll notice that this is not a case of everyone will be saved because of what Jesus did on the cross. There's a responsibility for us to make a choice to follow the shepherd, to seek his forgiveness. It does not mean that we will always be a perfect individual. We do not earn our way to being part of the fold. It's not the works that we do, but it is a decision to be part of that fold, to be his own. one of his sheep, a sheep of his pasture. I'm going to leave it there. I want you to understand that there is a shepherd who cares for you, who's willing and has shown himself to be willing to die for you by dying at Calvary's cross, to pay the price for your sin. But you have a decision to make. Will you be one of his and follow him wherever he leads? Remember, there will be other posts. Next week I'll be back to Nathan at 1 o'clock next Sunday. You also could check out our YouTube channel and our website, Ammonvale Gospel Hall.